welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Big Picture with me, Frank Razam Pereira. Since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a Big Picture quiz. Please participate by going through the description in Big Picture videos. If you like our content, please contribute to keep it alive. The links are in the description. Let me also take this opportunity to inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you in your competitive exams and transform the way you learn. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. Experience a whole new way of gaining knowledge. All this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it. And now on to the discussion. The boundary dispute between Assam and Mizoram dates back nearly a century and a half. While there have been several showdowns arising out of interstate disputes between various states of the Northeast, the dispute between Assam and Mizoram has rarely culminated in violence. Yet it escalated to unprecedented levels last week as firing on the interstate boundary left at least 6 Assam policemen dead and over 50 individuals injured. While Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma and Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga traded charges, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has asked the two leaders to find a way to resolve the dispute. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze the possible solutions to the Assam-Mizoram conflict. Joining me on the program today are Suhas Chakma, Director, Rights and Risks Analysis Group, and Patricia Mukim, Editor, The Shillong Times, and former member of the National Security Advisory Board. She is also an author. Thank you to my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Patricia, let me start the program with you first. Let's first try and understand the crux of this issue, because it's not something that is new. The issue itself is an old and long-standing one. It has flared up in recent times. Take us through the issue itself.
See, there are two states that do not have any quarrel with Assam. They are Manipur and Tripura. And that's because they were kingdoms and then they became union territories, then they became states. And perhaps their borders are not adjoining. There is Mizoram, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh that were all carved out of Assam. And because the granting of statehood has never been on economic viability of that new state or any other consideration. It's always been political. There's a pressure on a particular government at the center, elections are coming, so you grant statehood because you can't deal with the rebellions and all that. Now, all of these tribal states actually have their marked territories, these ancestral boundaries, traditional boundaries. We had chieftains, and we may not have had, we may not have been able to write anything down because we got our script pretty late in the day, but there were very sharp markers of territories which they remembered, which forms part of oral history. And this is how we believe, when we talk of country in the Northeast, if you talk about country among the Khasis and Jaintias, it just means the Khasi Jaintia hills. That is country for us. The notion of nation and country as the big country of India is still not embedded in our consciousness. So that's a problem. It may be okay for the educated elite, they feel part of the Indian nation, but for the large majority, and then this ethnicity keeps playing up every now and again. Politicians play it up before elections, so you deepen that the thought that your ethnic group is the most important. It deserves protection. It deserves all these things from the government of India and so on and so forth. And there's always this feeling at the back of our minds that we are not given enough attention. Then you have the creation of the Northeastern Council, which was meant to develop all these states equally. and to create interconnectivity between the states so that, there's ease of travel and all that. But till date, we are not so connected and we actually do not know each other so well. Today, I had a session with the students of Ramjas College, and we realized we don't know each other very well. We may travel to the rest of India, but many of us have not traveled to Manipur, have not traveled to Mizoram. Very few have traveled to Nagaland. So I don't know, this kind of a feeling of a state within a state, a territory within the larger territory of India, and that the borders are being transgressed. Just today, there was a video circulating of a border dispute in West Khasi Hills of Meghalaya, where Assam police personnel, you can see from the body language, it's so aggressive. So if we want to resolve these border issues, we would need to be a bit more, you know, uh, I don't know how to say it, but there is a lot of need for statesmanship. You don't want belligerence. You don't want this aggressive stance. You don't want to send policemen to the borders. They can't resolve anything. And even if you have these state chief secretary level talks, there've been so many talks, but these chief secretaries, they're the bureaucracy, they don't carry the will of the people. There's never been a situation where the elders of the tribes have been consulted on this border issue. It's always been politics, and then there's a lot of grandstanding, there's a lot of there's brinkmanship, and it just destroys the confidence of people, because in any case, there's a trust deficit in politics and politicians, not in politics per se, but in partisan politics as it's there today. So people like Mr. B.G. Varghese have studied this region, they've understood, they've given proposals that you need more development along the borders, so that the two states or the adjoining states gain from that kind of development, and to be under the supervision of a central authority. Because if you leave it to the states, they're not going to develop it. They will not even have a vision for how to go about, making these borders economic zones or educational hubs or health care centers of national importance. So these are things that trouble me a lot, because I think that the role of civil society has not been exploited in trying to bring about some kind of rapprochement between the two states. The two states, when I say two, I mean the quarreling states: Assam, Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal, Assam, Mizoram, Assam, Nagaland. So Assam being the common factor, we should explore what is it that triggers Assam's need to intrude into these borders every now and again.
Right. Points taken. Let me take the discussion forward with Suhas Chakma now. Suhas, the recent flare-up where so many lives were lost, several others injured as well, dozens injured. How would you look at it? Would you say that it is a one-off incident? Because we've not seen such a kind of a flare-up anytime in the near future or in the recent past. So how would you look at it? And would you say that this is a one-off incident, or do you feel that this needs special attention to be taken care of?
Well, I think it's an absolute failure of the administration at the center and as well as at the state level. Because 48 hours prior to the incident, the Home Minister of India had been to Shillong, and they had a specific discussion on the border issues, in which the Chief Minister of Assam and Chief Minister of Mizoram were present. Now, what goes on that in less than 48 hours time, that you have to send 200, troops or policemen allegedly from Assam side to the Mizoram side, then it leads to a flare of a conflict. So, what kind of discussion did you hold? Obviously, there is no substantive discussion, or whatever discussion that had taken place did not lead to anything. But at least what it led to was that status quo had to be maintained. Now, if the status quo had to be maintained, then obviously you have to restrain yourself, and you do not restrain yourself, by sending 200 policemen from this side, or the Mizoram sending its own troops. So the entire process has started because there was no communication. So obviously the line of communication between Assam Chief Minister and Mizoram Chief Minister had completely stopped. And you are talking about the chairman of the Northeast Democratic Alliance, who is supposed to be your appointment in all these states. So it cannot be seen as an one-off issue, but I think even if it is one-off issue, I think it's very, very serious that the home minister and two chief ministers met there, and you immediately go into war basically against each other. So what has gone wrong? And I have been all along saying that, both Assam and Mizoram are saying we do not know who has fired fast, etc. See, these days it's very easy to find out. All the police officials and all the senior civil servants from both sides, we are carrying their phones. Establish a commission. If you cannot do it, give it to the civil society groups and find out the location of the phones, who was where at what point of time. You could exactly pinpoint who had made the first move. And obviously, if it is Assam, then you hold the Assam accountable. If it's Mizoram, then you hold Mizoram accountable. So I would say that it's very dangerous, and I think there's a particular pattern into it. And the particular pattern which I see, I think since the new government in Assam had come, I think there have been a series of steps which had created a sense among the Assam police that they are beyond the reach of the law. So when you say that you could shoot at anybody, it's very nice to say that you shoot below the waistlines, that nobody is killed, and it's lawfully very correct. But when you have this kind of incident, then obviously, I mean, there is a sense that you could go to the other state and be as belligerent as this. And this is not the only incident. I think it was sometime in April this year itself, where I think the Meghalaya borders had been crossed into by the Assam police, and we had filed a complaint with the National Human Rights Commission, and this has not been.
No, they did it even recently. The same day that it happened in Mizoram, they uprooted one electric pole set up by the Meghalaya Energy Corporation. And there was a huge, melee over there. But because I think Meghalaya has a fairly benign population, and our police force, they're very pacifist. Otherwise, it would have, it could have got very inflamed. So why is it that you have a problem in two borders, in two states on the same day, just 48 hours after you had a talk in Shillong that, okay, we're going to study the maps, we're going to go through due process, and there will be give and take. But what was the signal sent out 48 hours later that, Assam is on top of things? Oh gosh.
Right.
I think what.
Yes, go ahead, Suhas, go ahead.
No, what is to be understood by the Ministry of Home Affairs, that look, there is not a single state in the Northeast which is going to sit single inch, as Himanta Biswa Sarma ji had said. So you cannot go and attack another state. That's not going to happen in India. And the moment you allow these things to take shape, then I am telling you, I mean, you are basically hinting something which is, people will not have faith in the institutions of this country. And it's very unfortunate that these incidents are taking place. The incident had taken place, then now it's time to pull back. Now it's time to, be less belligerent, less, provocative. What did NS Dobal said after the riots took place in Delhi? Jo ho gaya, so ho gaya. If you had said that with respect to the innocent people have been killed, and why can't you pull back, why can't you say that with respect to this? Yes, whatever has happened, we'll investigate and cool down. The security forces from the central government have taken over, and what's the need to take further steps like tribal advisory, economic blockade?
Yes.
You are not helping the unity of this country.
Absolutely.
And
True.
we would be the one who will be accused of anti-national activities. But I'm telling you what the government of India is doing, and how the politicians at local level and all of them, part of the NEDA or the BJP, they are exactly doing the same thing, which you should be accusing them of disintegrating the country.
Points taken. Let me take the points forward now. Patricia, coming to you. Do you get a sense, or do you feel that Assam is playing big brother in the region? You know, India is accused of doing that when it comes to Nepal, Sri Lanka, and several of the other
Yes,
countries.
yes,
Is
yes.
that the case with Assam and the Northeast?
Yeah, yeah, very much. We always feel that. We feel that all the time because they are in a very advantageous position as far as linkages are concerned, you know. So if Assam does an economic blockade on any one of us, then we are finished. Look at Mizoram now, they have to get their fuel, they have to get their other necessities from Tripura. So what does that tell us? That if you don't behave, this is what you're going to get. You know, it's saying it in not so many words. And to give the travel advisories saying that people of Assam should not travel to Mizoram because of, you know, the fear that they may be attacked. It doesn't bring about a sense of confidence, a sense of trying to resolve the matter. It's only trying to aggravate things. Then, of course, there's also that fact about the MP from Mizoram saying things that are not palatable at all in a
Absolutely.
in a democracy. You don't speak like that, you know. It's almost like a cowboy speaking. You know, somebody gets killed there, so you kill five here, or you it's all gone very wrong. And the reason is also because the media, I think, tries to conflagrate things. You put a you put a mouthpiece in front of somebody who's agitated, he's bound to say the wrong things, or she's bound to say the wrong things. Then the two chief ministers, there was a Twitter war between them. Why couldn't they speak to each other? Why did they have to speak over Twitter? And then the chief minister of Assam addresses his people and says, don't worry, not an inch of Assam land will go to anyone. These are not confidence building measures at all. And if Himanta Biswa Sarma is the leader of NEDA, he should be more mature. He should be more kind of, a bit more sort of a political statesman, because he's been in politics for a long time. I think he should be the one who's more magnanimous.
Absolutely. So I was coming back to you now. You know, let's talk about this issue of the economic blockade and travel advisory and so on and so forth. Now, do you believe that this is just to scare Mizoram, or do you believe that that is something that Assam can actually go ahead with? What role do you see the center playing?
Absolutely, Assam cannot go with this, because if they officially do this kind of economic blockade, it's the same High Court which is in Guwahati. I mean, it would basically mean collapse of the entire system of the government of India. You know, when you issue this kind of an advisory, it basically means two things. The center cannot ensure security of its citizens from Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, which is, yes, sorry, in Mizoram, which is absolutely unfortunate. Second, when there is a constitutional breakdown of this nature, what do? You go to the court, and they are under the same court, unlike Meghalaya, because Mizoram and Assam, they are governed or the control within the jurisdiction of the Guwahati High Court. So you are also saying that the High Court cannot ensure safety and security of the Indian citizens who are living in Assam when they go to Mizoram.
Mizoram.
So I don't think it can, or anybody can enforce this kind of blockade. But it basically creates a situation where you cannot pull back. And I think I was saying somewhere that the number of people killed were exclusively from Assam side. So Assam should have been the victim. But on the other hand, the way, especially the chief minister has behaved, or the entire administration had issued the advisories one after the other. In fact, they are under fire from everybody, and they are saying things which are absolutely untenable. So today, if you look at today, people will not sympathize with Assam for an economic blockade. And in fact, the death of the six persons, including five policemen, goes in the, what to say, back burner. So I think Himanta Biswa Sarma, I don't know, I mean, what is his politics, if he, how he had performed as Neta, but I think on this issue, he has basically shot himself. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to come back and be the NEDA chairman or negotiate with lots of things, because people in the Northeast, they have their identity. As I mean, Patricia was saying, the states are also built on the ethnic identity. So how are they going to accept it? So in the final run-up, what will happen if if Mizos are going to face serious difficulties? The government of India has no option but to airlift or give it to the, Tripura, then
The
send it
effort.
there. Why are people forgetting the one fact, which possibly the Home Minister and the officials do not? Mizo National Front went to underground and formed MNF in the 1960s, not seeking independence. They went to underground because when the feminists started in the 1960s, after bamboo flowering and lots
Yeah.
of rottens had come up, then they had stopped, people had died, and the government of India had failed to do. And you are basically trying to create the same thing, almost 50 years down the line. Is that something to be appreciated? And if the central government, which is led by so-called nationalists, is standing a mute witness, it's extremely unfortunate. This is not something which you can wait even for a day. See, when Supreme Court, when they recently intervened with somebody's liberty in Manipur, the Justice Chandrachud was very clear. Even for a day, you cannot detain. But this is an issue of national integration to ensure that each and every citizen of this country feels confident with the government at the center, whether it is of their party or not. That you assure that, and to assure that, you ensure that supply line is completely open, the areas are taken control by the uh, central security forces, life gets back to normal. If BJP government at the center is going to side in any manner, either with Assam or Mizoram, that's extremely unfortunate. And if they remain silent because somebody's face needs to be saved, which is the Chief Minister of Assam, that is equally bad. You can save somebody's face only by intervening and creating the normal conditions so that people forget about it and move on. And we are not doing that for the last 5 days, and possibly
I
we will not do
was
in the next 5 days. And
I
that's
was
Right.
the
hoping
tragedy of this country.
I was
Absolutely.
hoping that the Prime Minister would invite both these chief ministers and ask them to handle the situation a bit more differently. And also, we have to think long term. How are we cannot go on like this. We cannot go on with this friction. The Northeast, as it is so economically backward. Now, with the pandemic, we are losing so many jobs. Those who have been working outside the region have all returned, and we don't know how this pandemic is going to pan out. So we need job creation, we need all kinds of economic activities to happen here. But if we have these militarized zones, how are we going to resolve anything? And why is the Prime Minister silent? I thought he should have given a call to the people of the Northeast, which he has given name, some name that I cannot remember because it's in Hindi. If he cares so much for the people of this region, he should have given a call for peace. When the chief minister, when the prime minister speaks, I think it holds some ground. So why is the prime minister silent at this point? Even the home minister, who had just come here last week, was here creating a lot of pandemonium. He also is silent. He hasn't appealed to the people. You have to appeal to the people of this region, not just to the political masters.
Right. So, Chakma, what's the best way forward?
See, I think the best way forward has already been given by Patricia. That if you are the Prime Minister of the country, when the two states are fighting against each other, there cannot be anything more serious than that. It's more serious than China attacking
Yes.
India or Pakistan attacking, India. Because if you allow these two states to go to war, it basically means as a nation we are disintegrating.
We have
Much
failed.
before we are failing. So this is where this silence is absolutely, unacceptable. And I think the only reason where they are, what to say, keeping silent is possibly they realize that whatever has happened, Chief Minister of Assam has lost his credibility in Assam. So you need to give that leverage and create that atmosphere so that he could still restore his position. But the issue is it's a political fight. You are fighting with another state in a federal country which has its own executive, legislative, judicial powers with the police force. And there is no reason to, for any state to give an inch. So you file a police case against the member of parliament from Mizoram, absolutely unpalatable, unacceptable, but still you file a case. Now Mizoram files a case against the chief minister. How do you do it? So as chief minister of a state and as a minister who has been serving for a long time and who has been deputy chief minister of Assam for a long period of time, are you not aware about the powers and functions of each state you have? So this is not possible for either chief minister of Assam or chief minister of Mizoram to take the initiative because they have their own domestic constituencies. So the only person who could come in at this point of time, I think, as beautifully put by Patricia, for the prime minister to call on them and saying that, come to Delhi, then we have a meeting and make an announcement just to maintain the status quo. Yeah. Don't decide. Can't you ask for that? That you maintain your own status quo? What's there? After all, whether it is in Assam or it is in Mizoram, it's part of India.
Part of India.
So if you believe in the union of India, that should not be an issue. I would say if you cannot resolve this border dispute, let them remain for centuries as a status quo. Let people enjoy their rights and nobody should interfere. Why can't you work out the system if you have the Interpol to cooperate, with the crimes all over the world? Why can't you have, two states having, common law and order system? They are saying that we will not resolve this. Let the status quo be maintained. What are you going to get? You're going to get any taxes? You're going to get both? What are you going to get? It's extremely unfortunate that you cannot. You have a hotline with Pakistan. Our chief of the RAW speaks to the ISI chief. But here, chief minister of one state and chief minister of another state cannot talk to each other. So where are we heading to? I think that's a bigger question because this is, extremely worrying. Of course, the conflicts have taken place in 1979 and 1985. Right. But today, 40 years down the line in the age of information technology, where we know each other, it's very easy because 40 years, you do not know which troops are going where. Today, you can very much find out. And they knew that, as I said in the beginning, they knew the troops are going into confrontation because since morning they have been moving around. So I think it's very unfortunate. And the incidents in the past should not justify the current failure because everything has changed.
Absolutely. And Patricia, close the show for us with your quick concluding remark.
No, I just feel that, you need an interlocutor that both the states have some confidence in. If you can have an interlocutor for negotiating between Government of India and those militant outfits in Nagaland, I think we have reached a point where we need a good interlocutor who has the confidence of the Chief Minister of Mizoram and of the Chief Minister of Assam. Short of that, I don't see how we can bring these two gentlemen who've been really grandstanding in the last few days, If you look at their Twitter handles, sometimes it's quite immature, actually, these battles over social network. Sometimes I feel that, Twitter can become a force for great negativity. I think when it comes to handling situations that are sensitive, the chief ministers or even the prime minister or whoever is leading the country, leading the states, should not use Twitter to their disadvantage. It exposes them, it exposes their immaturity. Because everyone then retweets and then everybody passes judgment. I don't think anyone has been passed so much judgment in the last few days as Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma. So let them rise to the occasion. They are mature politicians. Mr. Zoram Thanga was a former militant, and he's come a long way. They're not there only from yesterday. They've been there for a long time. Let them show that vision.
And he is the interlocutor for the insurgent groups between, the military regime in Myanmar and the insurgent groups in Myanmar. He was invited to the Pangdong conference, and he and NSA Dobal had gone there. So when you are acting as a mediator, interlocutor, you should be knowing, what it takes to come to the table.
Absolutely. All right. We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you to my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Well, what's coming out of this discussion is that the conflict and the configuration between the two states is a serious issue. It needs to be addressed at the earliest. The chief ministers of both the states have only made the situation worse with their rhetorical statements. With the states unable to find a solution, the onus is now on the center to sort out the matter. There is a trust deficit between Assam and Mizoram that needs to be addressed. It is time to appoint an interlocutor that both sides can trust. It is not a matter for the administration to deal with unilaterally. The thoughts and sentiments of the people should also be given due weightage. Well, before I go, once again, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a big picture quiz. Please participate by going through the description in big picture videos. If you like our content, please contribute to keep it alive. The links are in the description. Let me also take this opportunity to inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you in your competitive exams and transform the way you learn. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. Experience a whole new way of gaining knowledge. All this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.